The excitement around Atletico Madrid coming to Canada is the fact that it is one of the top 10 powerhouses in world football.
Atletico has an experience for more than 100 years. Our idea is to create a very nice brand
supporters can feel proud.
Every Atletico Ottawa supporters can feel proud.
I think it's going to be fantastic for the CPL. The fans and the supporters are going to love this. We know that from Canadians love a rivalry with another Canadian city. We know that from research that we've done. If I'm from Ottawa, I want to see them play against Winnipeg. I want to see them play against Calgary. I want to see them play against Hamilton. And they're going to get to do all of them.
Canada is an amazing country, Ottawa is the capital, and with these new facilities, all around stadium, a very important local partner, all around this situation, we are excited with this idea.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the Capital City Supporters Group YouTube channel. You're here with me, Thomas Stockting, the writer of the Capital City Match Report, as we prepare to talk about Atletico Ottawa's inaugural season in the Canadian Premier League. Here to join with me, you got a little snippet of his face just then. It's the one and only Eddie Benhin, co-founder of 613 Sports. You're pretty much your go-to website for all sports here in Ottawa, as well as being an all-round good bloke. How's it going, Eddie? You all right?
Not bad. How about you?
I'm great. Thank you very much, matey. Before we get everything underway, make sure you head over to @CapitalSG on all platforms to go and subscribe, and go over and hit a subscription on 613 Sports as well. And our own personal Twitter handles will be floating around the screen at some point, so make sure you go and follow those. But to get down to what we're here for, inaugural season for the inaugural club, the first expansion to our side, and it was a hell of a project to pull off, and they did at the very last minute though, right, Eddie? It was a little bit of a bizarre start.
Yeah, with COVID and everything, I mean, obviously we lost the team, and then obviously this new campaign of Ottawa to CPL was started by a couple of people, Matt Boutain and Josh. They were the two founders of it, and then all of a sudden we hear news that Atletico Madrid, one of the biggest clubs in the world, is making a team here in Ottawa for the Canadian Premier League. And all of a sudden we hear about that, and then we go silent, and no one knows we're going to be playing in this season or next season, and all of a sudden we're playing this season, and everyone's happy. And then COVID hits, and then everything, it was just a big mess in typical Ottawa fashion.
And you spoke just then about the big push to get a new team here to keep football very much alive here in Ottawa. You were part of that push, weren't you? You were heavily involved in the promotion of a new football team here.
Yeah, so 613 Sports, obviously we were behind in the Ottawa to CPL campaign. We really felt that this city needs a soccer team. You cannot have a league in Canada without having a team in its capital. And so we were really pushing hard. We were we had all the plans set up to start, pushing the members of parliament or members of the city of Ottawa. And then all of a sudden, while we were preparing everything, this news came that actually, wait a minute, Jeff Hunt, and they were in talks with Atletico Madrid, and they were doing their own things on the side. So we didn't really have to do much, but we were ready to fight for a team here.
Yeah, but as you say, when it comes down to not doing much, the supporters are they're the life and soul of any football club, and without them and without kind of push, you can't really have a team. To go on to the whole revelation of the club, as you said, in typical Ottawa fashion, it sort of came out of nowhere almost. You didn't know if you're going to be in this season or not, and then we have the added complication of COVID-19 and a pandemic to deal with. There was a little bit of a different way in which the club unveiled itself, wasn't there? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so luckily, right before COVID hit, we actually were able to have the official club unveiling at TD Place. A lot of people were there. It was during a school day, and yet there was a lot of people there. A lot of people skipped work. A lot of people skipped school to be there. It was huge. The atmosphere was great, and everyone was ready. And then, of course, COVID hit. So we weren't able to see we weren't able to see a kit launch in person. We weren't able to see anything. Luckily, Ottawa, alongside the CPL, did have a virtual campaign, which first started with the virtual eCPL, which was a virtual FIFA tournament where, one player from each team played with a FIFA pro, and they represented their city in a tournament. So that was the first time I remember Malik Hamilton was representing Atletico Ottawa. He was one of the first signings. And that was really the first time that fans were able to engage with the team and, actually feel like we had a team.
Congratulations on everything.
And then, of course,
thank you.
The virtual kit
Jeff
launch.
Hunt joining us here on the
Couldn't have a person, so it was online. I remember, you can see in this clip, 500 viewers. I remember we hit about 1,000 viewers
coming in the
of
Facebook
this
chat
beautiful
at
kit that we
time.
launched.
Keep that up. Tell your friends.
Typical Madrid fashion, obviously, the home jersey, the red, blue, and white strips. But, there are obviously mixed opinions on it, but a lot of people enjoyed it, and it was a huge success. I was really surprised that this really worked out.
And so, as you said, the kit got unveiled online. Obviously, you always want something to be in person. It feels so much more. But I think they really did find the best solution that they had available to them, didn't they? And there were, or you mentioned briefly there, well, over 600 people came in online for the kit reveal, didn't they? Which is huge. And I mean, as you say, with a club like Atletico Ottawa, Atletico de Madrid, backing the franchise, you're always going to get a lot of interest internationally as well, which can only be a good thing for the Canadian Premier League.
It's a must.
Yeah, so obviously when there's a big club like this, all we saw throughout was there a lot of international articles coming out from French and over in France and over in Spain, and articles like big soccer websites were talking about the Canadian Premier League and Atletico Ottawa, and back talking about this virtual kit launch. They did a great job. They got all the supporters groups involved. I think there was a representative from each supporter group, and they all got a package, mailed the jersey, and they were told, don't open it up before this time. So all of a sudden, everyone was back in, and I think this is the perfect thing to do, getting the fans involved when it was really tough during these pandemic times.
Absolutely. It's a bit like Christmas, but it's even better because it just revolves around football. Looking at this year's tournament, as it's the inaugural season for Atletico Ottawa. It's the expansion team. You're coming in, it's always going to be a little bit difficult, but then you get the pandemic, as we've mentioned beforehand, that throws another curveball into the mix. But the location for the tournament this year and the style that they did it in was very interesting. The location was stunning, wasn't it?
Yeah, Prince Edward Island. You can't go wrong with that. I don't think any Canadian can say anything bad about Prince Edward Island. It's a beautiful place. It's, like the little baby of Canada, and it's a neutral place. All the teams are there. There's no team in Prince Edward Island right now, so there's no, no rigging involved, nothing. So I think it was a perfect location, and I mean, now that the tournament's done, I think it was very well done for sure.
And you can only hope as well that with the popularity of the tournament this year, the success of having it in Prince Edward Island, we could look potentially in the next couple of years at another expansion kind of team coming in to ensure that all of the territories and provinces end up being represented by the end of this. That has to be the ultimate goal for the Canadian Premier League. Talking about last minutes, though, the roster for the team came out very, very late, didn't it? Tell us a little bit about how you felt as a fan in anticipation, and as well as being a bit of a sporting journalist yourself with 613 at the moment, there was you're trying to put out articles about the team and you don't even know who's in the team.
Yeah, so it took a while for us to even announce a player. I remember we were waiting, and then obviously Ben Fisk was our inaugural signing, and then it was going like about every day there was new signings, and then it kind of stopped. And then the plan was the team was going to fly off into Atletico Madrid to train in their facilities, world class. And then sadly they had to come back because of the pandemic. They had to quarantine for 2 weeks before they could even start training. And obviously no more players were really being announced. There were a bunch of players who were, trying out. And I don't think the roster was finalized until a couple of days before the tournament. I know McKendry was only announced on the team like 3 days before the tournament. So everything was last minute. I remember trying to prepare some articles, and I only could get to half of the players. And I realized, we're still missing half the team. What we're going to do? But then eventually, I think all the players were announced in time. I remember I was able to post out an article, and on the right here, you can see there is the roster of the players, and it's a very good team.
What some people may notice looking at that roster as well is that there are a couple of names that didn't feature at all in the this year's Island Games, is there? As they were unable to meet up with the team.
Yeah, so a couple players. So we had Tevin Shaw, we had Bernardinho, and then we also had Dada Luque. They weren't able to make it, obviously different reasons, most likely COVID. So those were key pieces I feel that could have helped that surrounded around midfield. So we were pretty, that's why we had a lot of midfielders, but we also were missing some 3 key players who next season will probably be able to help our team a lot.
Absolutely, and we'll touch a little bit more on that later on in the show and what kind of things they could have provided. But talking about the start of the tournament, let's dive into it, shall we? It really was a tale of 2 teams, wasn't it? It was the team that everyone expected to see, and then the team that kind of surprised everybody. And they were both on show, and I think it was very adherent. It was very obvious in the very first game, wasn't it, against York 9, where the first goal of the franchise was scored, and the team must have done better than anyone was expecting. Eddie, as a fan yourself, tell us the emotions on the day.
I mean, the fact that I was expecting us to just be dominated in all fashions, right? And the fact that we were actually battling with York, going head to head, and the emotion of having first game, and we were like, okay, let's see, can we get a draw? Maybe can we score a goal? And just all that coming together, it was an interesting game. And when the game started, I saw that we were battling. I'm like, wait a minute, we actually have a chance here. And then, of course, eventually we went up to a 2-0 lead, and at that point, I'm like, wow, like we're going to win our first game. Like, wow, look, like we're the best team in this tournament.
And there has to be that kind of excitement when there's that element of mystery around the expansion team like this, and they come off up to such a high-flying start against York 9, which had to be one of the favourites to qualify for the playoffs this season, to go 2-0 up against them within 60 minutes. It was thrilling, but there wasn't, the first win wasn't quite to be, though, was it?
No, sadly, lack of discipline. We got a red card, and then we ended up shipping 2 goals. We came up with a draw, but quite disappointing. But at the same time, first game ever, everyone's going to take a draw for sure. So,
absolutely. And considering we've covered a little bit there, but there's a better way to cover it. Really, we're gonna show you some of the highlights here of the first game in case anyone watching missed it. I highly doubt it, but let's get to it.
El primero goal for Atletico Ottawa. The first goal in club history scored by Mohamed Karuma. But here's an opportunity for Acuna. Javier Acuna with the ball in the box and close. Deflects it in front. It does take a fortunate deflection and falls to Malcolm Shaw. Great spot for a free kick. Great spot for a free kick. The red card comes out from the official. The youngster does well to keep hold of the ball. A real opportunity, gets it in for another youngster. York get one back. World would be a fan of the Portuguese Ronaldo, but it's actually the Brazilian Ronaldo and Ronaldinho that are his 2 favorites. Another chance for York, as they're not wasting any time, and they get a chance to kick from the penalty spot. Joseph Dichiara does just that.
And there we had it. That was the highlights of the first game. As you mentioned there, Eddie, it was discipline. Discipline really came down to it. 2-0 up. Vachon Neufville with, I would argue, maybe a little bit of a harsh second yellow card. But then his replacement, who comes on to try and fill in at left back, Jared Phillips, giving away that penalty. But Di Chiara was almost unplayable in that game, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, Di Chiara, he was the man of the match. He looked unstoppable there. And yeah, lack of discipline. You might argue, that shouldn't really be a red card, second yellow. But at the same time, when you're on a yellow, you should know better for those tackles. And again, giving up a penalty as well, it's no good. But at the same time, inaugural season, first ever game, not a lot of practice. It's bound to happen. And I think it's better that it happened in the first game than later on when it's more crucial.
Absolutely. And speaking of inaugural game, and there was obviously, as we mentioned, the inaugural goal. And what a moment it must have been for the number 9, Karuma. This is what he had to say after the match.
It's a lot of players cramping up and going down at the end. Just how difficult was that for a first match back in so long?
It wasn't easy. You know, we didn't have no preseason games, and especially for us, we got the red card that doesn't help us. So, but I think we fought good, and you know, we did what we need to do to keep the score.
You did take the lead 2-0 up and then held out for a draw with 10 men. How pleased can you guys be with this performance overall?
Yeah, we're happy. I'm proud with the guys here, and you know, such a good guys, and you know, we work every training, working hard, and you know, I know that if we play our football, it's going to be hard to beat us.
And you are the first ever goal scorer in Atletico Ottawa history. What does that mean to you?
I'm blessed. I'm happy to be the first one, but all the credit to my teammate and the staff. And
do you think the team has shown here maybe that they were seen as an underdog, but do you think you've shown that you can surprise people at this tournament today?
Yeah, what do you think? Huh?
Sorry?
What do you think?
I thought so.
Okay, so I mean, we need to work. You know, like I said, we didn't have a lot of like preseason games, so for us it's gonna be game by game and you know, get better. So for the first game we weren't bad, so we can improve, but I'm proud with the guys.
As you can see there, Kuruma over the moon, ecstatic with his teams and his personal performance. Obviously, after that very first game, blessed, he said, I loved the little bit of sass that was kind of lost behind the mask, but the sass about what do you think in terms of what Ottawa can prove as a surprise. Moving on to game two, though, it was a very harsh reality check for the team, wasn't it? We'll skim over this briefly, but it was so Ottawa took on Valor FC from Winnipeg, and it was definitely, it brought them back down to earth after that elating feeling of going 2-0 up against York. Eddie, it wasn't the best performance we saw in the tournament, was it?
No, I mean, we started off all right. We were battling with Valor. The game was 0-0 and it can go either way. But then again, lack of discipline, we go down a man again, and from then on, Valor puts 4 past us. We lose 4-0, but it really was a tale of two teams again in that game. As we started off, we were playing fine, and then just, you know, as usual, like we're saying again, you know, that inaugural team, you know, expansion team, it happens, and we went down and we lost the game, but it happens.
Exactly as you say, and it was very fortunate in the first game that when that rush of heads and that maybe little bit of lack of discipline in the first game, there was a 2-0 cushion to help with it. There was no such cushion. I think we were 1-0 down when we saw our red card against Valor, and obviously it was a complete uphill battle from there. But as you stated beforehand, it was very good that this happened earlier on in the tournament, as we saw a much improved discipline for the Atletico Ottawa team throughout the rest of the tournament, and we got a thrilling encounter in game 3 against FC Edmonton, didn't we?
Yeah, FC Edmonton, you know, our old rivals back from, you know, our previous team days. You know, it's our biggest rival, I feel, and you know, what a start we had to that game. You're going to see the highlights.
All right, I think we should roll those highlights now and chat about them a little bit after. How fast?
As the referee for this afternoon, Myriam Marcotte, 28 years old, out of Quebec City, gets us underway here. FC Edmonton wearing their all-black City Edition change strip. Atletico Ottawa in the famous red, white, and blue, and an early chance for Atletico Ottawa, and an early goal for Atletico Ottawa. Javier Acuna, 30 seconds into the match, his first goal in the CPL. Good ball movement from Atletico Ottawa. This match is 14 minutes old. They had the 1-0 lead. Acuna again looking for the brace off the post and in. Yes!
So, as I said, if you blink, you would miss it. Barely 2 minutes on the clock when Acuna broke through and scored his first ever goal for Atletico Ottawa, as well as coincidentally being the fastest goal that was scored in this year's tournament, wasn't it?
Yeah, fastest ever goal. I think it was at 25 seconds. And he would actually go on in the 16th minute to score again. Atletico Ottawa was 2-0 up. You know, we're dominating completely, and you're thinking, like, here we go. Our first win. And as the game progresses, we keep dominating. It's going 80th minute, 85th, and then Edmonton starts to push.
What do you think it was for you? What was Ottawa lacking in those last 7 minutes? 85 plus stoppage time. What happened after that period? Was it the lack of legs? What do you think it was?
Yeah, I think it was just players got tired. We didn't have a lot of subs. Our roster was small, and I think just players. It's a high game. High speed game, and just one lack of attention, and the ball's in your net, and that's what happened. The first goal, ball just crosses in. Lack of attention, and the ball goes in. So now we're winning 2-1. So now you're just hoping, let's hold on. But sadly, the players, I don't think mentally they were tired, and they just couldn't hold on to that. And Edmonton pushed last minute and scored and got the equalizing goal 2-2. And it proved to be a big 2 points lost for Ottawa.
Absolutely, but one of the biggest plus you can take from the game was not only was it for me the team performance, there was almost this Liverpool style like Gengen press from the Ottawa team, as we saw from that first goal, that willingness to press high up the field, get multiple players in one go. But Francisco Acuna really did announce himself to his teammates in that game, didn't he? We saw flashes of it in the first one, but this was his game.
For sure, this was his game. This is when he really entered into the league and said, no, this is I'm here ready to play. He was everywhere. Everything was coming through him. Like you said, the high press, which is kind of similar to the way Atletico Madrid plays with that high press. Everyone battling for that ball, and Acuna was in charge of that, and he played excellent. And it's a shame, though, we couldn't be awarded with 3 points for that performance.
Yeah, and not only was Acuna really announced to his teammates there, but he really announced himself on the league at that point, and I can't wait to see what else is to come from him. However, in Atletico Ottawa's next game, it was a very different man who took the headlines, didn't he, with his performance?
Yeah, the very next game, Ben Fitz, Malik Hamilton, they both showed up. The two strikers really that we really got on there, and they really took charge. And what can you say?
Yeah, the game against Cavalry has to be the highlight of Atletico Ottawa's tournament, especially considering last year's finalists, one of the favourites for this year. Such an entertaining game between Cavalry and Forge to open up the season. I think there are no words that could put it better than seeing those 2 goals again. So, shall we?
Players trying to remind each other of what's to come. Miriam Marcotte reminding everyone what's really important right now. Martinez. Martinez. This time it looks like Ottawa's onside, led by Javier Acuna. Lovely pass, Ben Fisk. Not a pretty one, but it's going to count. Ben Fisk scores the opening goal of this match as the clock ticks past an hour. And Ben Fisk has his first as a member of Atletico Ottawa. 1-0 to the expansion side. Ledgerwood. Malik Hamilton gets in the way before it can fall for Oliver. And Ottawa just going to keep on trying that. Use the wind as your friend. Shaw scores! Oh my goodness! Malcolm Shaw! Unbelievable strike. Carducci planted to the deck. And a golazo from Malcolm Shaw. Defended by Ben Fisk. Back for Zator. Pisquati gets to it. Ledger.
So there we have that. That was Ottawa's first ever win. Never mind of the tournament, it was their first ever win as a club, and what a team to get it against as they beat one of this year's favourites, Cavalry, 2-0. I would actually disagree with the commentator there when he claimed Ben Fisk's goal was not a pretty one. I thought it was wonderfully worked. Acuna found great space down the right-hand side, and though his shot was deflected in, all you have to do, you put the ball back where it came from, right?
No. Ottawa, we saw throughout the whole tournament, all our goals, they were beautifully made. Acuna right down the wing. It was another counterattack, like you said, across the goal. Ben Fisk the other way. It took a deflection so what? The whole play was beautiful itself. And, all of a sudden we're in the lead in the 60th minute against the finalists from last year.
Absolutely, and that lead was doubled not long after as Malcolm Shaw, the main man leading the front line. We finally got to see a little bit more of him, I feel, in this game, what he can really bring to the team, his strength. Tell us what you thought about his tournament as a whole, as well as that fantastic performance against Cavalry.
Yeah, so we had the fastest goal in the tournament, and I think we had the best goal of the tournament with Malcolm Shaw there. Just shoots the top corner. But Malcolm Shaw, he played very well this tournament. I feel he had a little bit of trouble. He was kind of isolated up top. He kind of needed that support. But when he was running onto the ball, when he had those passes through the wings, he was able to take that space and create many chances. He could have got a lot more goals. It wasn't for incredible saves or just unluckiness. But I think next season, what I want to see from him more is if he can hold that ball up as a more striker, and then be able to create that space for other people to run onto. Because he's very good at running onto space. I want to see if he's able to create that space.
Absolutely. And as you can see there, 7 appearances, just under 600 minutes, 2 goals and 1 assist from the Atletico Ottawa's front man, which is really not a bad return in their inaugural season. Much like it was after the fantastic opening performance against York, there was a little bit of a harsh reality check in the next game as Atletico Ottawa went on to face season favourites. I mean, a little bit difficult for them playing Cavalry and then Forge back to back, and getting that upset of a win against Cavalry and then having to face Forge straight after. Not a best thing for them, but the defeat against Forge did mean that we had such an entertaining final 2 games. It set up a must-win game against Pacific FC. The team from Vancouver Island, Ben Fisk, Captain Ben Fisk's old team as well. And what an encounter it was.
Yeah, everything was set up perfectly. Pacific they had 3 former Ottawa Fury players. So, Fury fans, we had that connection, with old team, new team. And like you said, it was very simple. If we lose, we go home. If we win or draw, we're still alive. And it was a very, very ruggedy game. Pacific with their front 3, scary. And, they kept pushing. They had 18 shots in this game, and they couldn't score. And all of a sudden, in the last minute of play, we get a corner, and Viti Martinez puts it in Ottawa. We somehow come out with 3 points. Our season's still alive, and we sets up a final day of win, you're in, lose, you go home.
Absolutely. Before we move on to that final game, let's see how the team fared when they took on Pacific FC.
Ottawa's netminder Nachos the ball, leads the CPL with 19 saves entering tonight's match, as McNaughton goes up looking for another header. Pacific still not seeing what they want to go on the attack. Finally, a lead pass of Jamar Dixon around Milovan Kapoor. Jamar Dixon, oh, he puts it over the net. Great ball from Verhoeven. Nice footwork from Dixon too, just lacking on the finish. Best chance of the match for either side. Ottawa forward, Ben Fisk settles it down. He has Malcolm Isaiah Shaw, he sends him in. Malcolm Shaw, great stop from Callum Irving. Seemingly out of nothing, Ottawa very close on the counterattack. Ottawa wasting no time on the corner kick. Baldissimo gets a foot to it. Another corner coming up. Now Ottawa's got all the momentum. Mohamed Karuma again. Shaw trying to run through. Loose in the box. Viti Martinez! Viti Martinez scores in the 90th for Atletico Ottawa. They never quit, and now they're on top.
The elation at the end of the game, the scenes after Vidi Martinez poked that ball into the back of the net. It has to be a tournament high, and that has to be one of my favourite photos from Atletico Ottawa in this tournament. As a fan, Eddie, again, tell us the emotions you were feeling when he hammered that ball into the roof of the net.
I remember I was watching this game with my dad at home, and I was the same with him. Like, we need a win, because the point, it puts us in a more dangerous position. And corner kick, I'm like, could it happen here? And the second the ball dropped, that ball goes in net. I never yelled that loud before. I hopefully my neighbors didn't get too mad at me. It was just, honestly, I think that's my favorite moment from the tournament. It kept our season alive. We couldn't get any bigger than that. And just the passion you saw from the players, the way the subs came in, the way Viti celebrated, you could tell that the players bought into this team and they wanted to win this battle. If there was any confusion of, look at Edmonton, the way they played, we were here to fight. We were here to win and make top four, and just never fight. Like, keep fighting to the final whistle, they always say. And this is why, we get dominated all game and we still win. For once, luck was on our side.
Yeah, for me, that was the moment that showcased real team unity within the squad. If there was ever any questions over the chemistry between the players, do they like each other? Do they get along? I think it was all questions there were answered with just how much it really meant to them and how much they pushed. And as you say, I think we had quite a good first half. There was some good play in midfield. I thought Ben McKendry, who came in, that was his first start of the tournament, and I thought he had a phenomenal first half. And it's actually his free kick that floats in to get that corner, that gets the other corner, that finally gets the goal. So I thought his standout, that was his standout performance. And as you say, in the second half against the run of play, but we held very well against a team who had you mentioned beforehand, but had a really fierce front three.
Yeah, if there are any questions about our defense being shaky before, our defense, I think it was the best game our defense played. Front three, dangerous. Like, they were, all the commentators on soccer, they're saying, like, this team, this is the best front three in the league. And we were able to hold a clean sheet. They had chance after chance. Obviously, help from our great goalkeeper, Nacho Zabal, but our defense, they were really impressed, all of them. And they really got us to win here.
And as you said, this victory here was a must win. And we won, and then that set up on the final day a must-win game against HFX Wanderers. It was a case of a win for Atletico Ottawa is the only thing that would do to get them through, whereas HFX Wanderers needed but a point to ensure their playoffs position. It was a truly game of winner takes all in this one. So let's get down to it in what was, I'm going to argue, Atletico Ottawa's best performance of the tournament.
Forward, and Halifax is on, turning and firing. Broken down play almost turned into something magical for the Wanderers. Piece of it, Garcia. Just over 15 minutes into this match, and Wanderers take the lead. Atletico Ottawa supporters enjoying their own kind of drinks break at the Senate Tavern as Vidi Martinez soars up. Oxner once again answers the call. Whistle blows, here we go. Peter Shawley hits. Peter Shawley sends it wide, puts it off our camera. Peter, those things are expensive, be careful. Oh, trouble for Ottawa as Ricci picks it up, a little chip, and that could be it for the Wanderers. Take a bow, Alessandro Ricci. His first goal in a Halifax top, and Halifax topping Ottawa right now, 2-0.
And there we have it. That was unfortunately not to be going forward for Atletico Ottawa, as that was their final performance of the tournament, and a 2-0 defeat to HFX Wanderers was the end of the road for us. And though we went 2-0 down, as I said before those clips, and though it didn't do much justice in the highlights, I still think that was our best performance.
Oh, no. If you look at the stats, this was actually our best performance. We had 55% possession and 12 shots, which was our most shots in a game. It literally came down to a battle of goalkeepers. We had Nacho Zabal and Christian Oxner, arguably the two best goalkeepers in this tournament. And obviously, the first goal kind of slipped by Nacho Zabal, but you can't really blame him there. But yeah, looking at Nacho Zabal, in 7 appearances, he had, 2 clean sheets, and he 24 saves on like 36 shots on target. Look at Christian Oxner, he had 2 clean sheets as well and 23 saves. So it really was a battle of goalkeepers. Like I said, sadly, that goal kind of got sneaked by, but Ottawa was pushing, and we had a lot of chances, and just Christian Oxner kept coming up. I remember Malcolm Shaw had a very good chance and just got robbed. But like you said, it was our best game. We were passing, we were fighting, and you could tell, like, even though we were losing, we wanted that. And sadly, of course, we had a little mistake. Again, tired legs. It was a long tournament, and just one mistake kind of put it to bed. But realistically, I don't know if we were going to score regardless, just the way Halifax was playing on defensively.
Absolutely, as you say, Halifax had a fantastic defensive performance. The Ox did come out and pull off some cracking saves. But for me, it's not even one mistake. I believe from watching that, I think there was 2 mistakes really that led to those 2 goals. There's a little bit of an error in defensive positioning in the first one, which catches them out. And then, as you say, tired legs. Ben McKendry, who I praised so hardly after the must-win game against Pacific, coming up with that loose ball back to Zabal, which in the end gave Zabal no chance. But what a tournament he had.
Yeah, fantastic tournament. I mean, no one really expected him. Obviously, no one expected anyone from Atletico Ottawa, but he came in and he, made his place. The amount of saves he made, the amount of games he kept us in just for us to, steal a point or steal, 3 points. It was all on him. We're going to say who our Atletico player of the season is. He for sure is one of them up there.
Came close. He came close, didn't he? Before we get on to Eddie's ideal 11, as well as the Capital City Supporters Group player of the season, Eddie, when you were looking at some of the statistics between all of the players, between all of the games, you noticed a bizarre correlation between Atletico Ottawa's victories and their defeats. Can you go into a little bit more detail for us on that one?
Yeah, so you look at our wins and losses. So our wins against Cavalry and Pacific, who I might add, those 2 teams finished in the top 4. So very good teams. In those games, we actually had less possession by a lot. We had 38% and 37% possession. So we got outpossessed a lot. We created next to no shots. Against Cavalry, we had 6 shots, Pacific 8 shots. Yet we came up with the victory. If you look at our losses, though, those are the games that we had the most possession. We outpossessed the other team, other than Valor, where we had a red card. So we count that out. So Halifax and Forge, we had 55% and 54% possession and 5 shots and 12 shots. But those are the games we lost. So my theory is the way Atletico Ottawa played, just with the players we had, we're a lot more direct. So when we're on a counterattack, we had the guns ablazing. We had Malcolm Shaw, Fisk, Kurama, guns ablazing down the right wing, left wing, middle flank, catching teams by surprise and able to make our chances. However, when we had possession and the whole defensive team was in front of us, it appeared that we had trouble creating spaces for our players to run onto. We were kind of just passing the ball around, not creating a lot. And that's what I find our weakness was creating that space where someone could else run in. And that's where we noticed where we lacked. But our strength was once we had that space, no one could stop us. So moving forward, I like to see next season is if we're able to create that space, are we going to see similar stats? Are we going to see those possession stats, kind of help turn into goals and to wins? Because if you have possession, you're going to win. And for some reason this year, it just didn't work like that.
Absolutely. It does very much allude to that the way Mister is setting up his teams increases the number of opportunities when utilizing counterattacks rather than dominating possession. And though Francisco Acuna did have a fantastic tournament, you need more creative players in the middle of the park. Viti Martinez, I thought, was very defensive. McKendry was very defensive. So you need some more creative flair number 10 players to pick those passes and unlock those defenses if you're going to play possession based. But you have to play with the players you have, right? So Eddie, after having watched the inaugural season in the Canadian Premier League for the expansion side at Atletico Ottawa, go on, your starting 11 based on the players that we saw in this tournament. Talk us through it.
All right, so I have no coaching background, but my starting lineup, I changed a little bit. So normally you have Brandon John and Kapoor switch. So Kapoor's on the right, John on the left. But I decided I wanted to pair the two with the running backs. So Kapoor and Neufeld, I feel that they could really help support each other, with Neufeld being faster, but Kapoor having more of the defensive structure. Same with John and Hamilton. Hamilton being faster, but John could support him there. And I feel McKendry, even though he had that mistake near the end, he was excellent when he was playing. I feel he's good there as a defensive role. Acuna, Vitti, they had that chemistry, and they were able to hold down that midfield. Obviously, Vitti scored that chances. But up front, it changed a little bit. I think Malcolm Shaw would be a lot better on the left wing, as he's able to powerful and run down those spaces. And I feel Fisk would have a little bit, easier time trying to create spaces for Kurama and Malcolm Shaw to run down. I was kind of hoping we'd see this at least once during the season. Sadly, obviously, I'm not a coach, so Mista knows what he's doing. But for sure, I would like to see if Fisk was able to create space, and maybe Malcolm Shaw will be able to create even more chances using his size and speed down the wing.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting observation. When I first saw your starting 11 up, I was very much questioning Ben Fisk up front from what we saw. He was, as you say, deployed by Mista nearly completely on the left-hand side of a front three. But one thing that was noticeable, especially in the game against Pacific, when they had Bustos and Blasco's particular speed and trickery, is that the few times when Shaw was able to hold up the ball and free in Fisk, though Fisk is a very good player, he seemed to lack a little bit of pace in terms of getting beyond that final man. So you think Fisk being more of a, because he's not particularly tall, so you're not trying to utilize him as a target man in this 11, are you?
No, but again, with Malcolm Shaw, target as well, we didn't really target him that much. I saw a lot of chances. Actually, Acuna was up next to Malcolm Shaw getting those balls. I feel that the way Atletico Ottawa wants to play, we need that striker up there that can hold on to that ball, that allows our wingers to move up towards the wings. So we can receive, turn, or pass it back. We don't really have that striker that runs on as well. And I feel Fisk, just with his experience over Malcolm Shaw, he will be able to hold on to that ball and create that, that little moment of space that can put Kurama or Shaw down the wing.
And I think it's worth mentioning that this is your starting 11 based on the players you did see in the tournament. And there may be a couple of altercations when we look at next season, especially with some of the players that were, due to restrictions with this year's Island Games, unable to meet up with the squad. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, Bernardinho, for example, he's the left wing. So he'll be, on that left side. So where would Fisk be then, right? Maybe Fisk is moved around. So Tevin Shaw's a center defensive mid. So then potentially, Ben McKendry, right? So the thing is, and then obviously Kunle Dadaluke is on the right wing. So the thing is, when you add more players, you have more competition, which, puts more depth, first of all, and also makes your players play a lot better and harder. Next season, I think Atletico Ottawa is going to really, you're going to see a different kind of attacking style. And I really do believe that possession is really going to start paying off. We're going to be able to combine our strategy of running down onto space, because we're going to have a lot of players now that can create that space for these fast players to attack down the pitch.
Indeed, indeed. And before we cast our views too far into the future, we'll focus on Capital City Supporters Group's player of the tournament from Atletico Ottawa. And I think it was, as much as it was a little bit close, as you mentioned earlier, with how well Zabal performed, I think it was undeniable that the little Mexican magician was going to take the top prize this year, right?
Yep. Acuna, he was, I think he was robbed not being nominated one of the best players of the tournament. I think he was. That everything went through Acuna. All the goals, all the chances. He was a central piece. He was the one attacking first. Defensively, he was the one putting players in. Obviously, he got the 2 goals against Edmonton, I think was his best game of the tournament. He's a little magician there. And I feel, obviously, because of his age, you can't really build a team around him. But I feel moving forward, he's going to be a very key piece of this team. And you get a couple more players there, he is going to be a star for this team, and he's going to create a lot of chances. So for sure, Capital City's player of the season, Acuna, and close second, I would throw it to Nacho Zabal.
Absolutely. And as you say, with his little bit increase in age, then he will at least be a fantastic role model to some of the younger players. And though Victor Acuna may have been slightly robbed of his lack of nomination within the Canadian Premier League's official voting for best players of the tournament, there was an Atletico Ottawa face present in their inaugural season. And it was, of course, the coach, Mista, who had one hell of a task on his hands, and he performed it to aplomb with such bizarre circumstances, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at the team we had. You know, we had the least amount of players on our roster coming in, and he was able, you know, everyone expected us to come last, win the wooden spoon. And here we were on the final day, a victory away from making top 4. And once we get to top 4, who knows what can happen. Mista, you can clearly see that he has a plan set in place. I don't think he has all the players yet, but I think the players right now there have all bought in to Atletico Ottawa style. We have a certain style of playing. I could see it throughout the tournament, and for sure he should be nominated. Will he win? I don't know. He's going up against the Forge head coach and the Halifax head coach, two of the coaches who made it to the finals. Obviously, Halifax came last place last year, but he's for sure should be nominated, and he needs to be congratulated for what he did with his team.
And not only him, but the entire team does need to be congratulated as well. Joining us is a little bit of a surprise guest. This is Nick Ryan. He is the director of ticketing at Atletico Ottawa, and we're going to be chatting with him a little bit about the club side of things, how they felt about things. Good evening, Nick. How are you?
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. Hi, Thomas. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Mick. Thank you very much for coming on. I'm very much enjoying all of the shirts and the scarves in the background.
Yeah, I got my setup there. Just hung it off a picture in the living room. So it's the working from home thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's got to make their little desks at home. So, Nick, again, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about the club side of things this season? How does the club feel that they did in this inaugural season, albeit very bizarre season in the Canadian Premier League?
Yeah, definitely. We had our goals. First being, let's sell out the home opener. Of course, the home opener didn't happen properly. We sold out our virtual home opener. When it comes to performance on the field, a little bit unexpected on everything that would happen with the sequestered event out in PEI. Our goal was to reach that core 4, and then obviously win the championship. But the initial goal was, hey, let's reach this core 4. And we didn't get there, but we're very proud of our performance. We're very proud of the coaching staff. We're very proud of the team on the field. Off the field, it was a crazy year. It came down to basically 5 of us, including Mr. Jeff Hunt and CEO Fernando, starting the team from home in our basements on virtual calls as they just came back from Spain. We weren't allowed to go for coffee. We couldn't meet anyone. So I didn't picture working with such a small team and starting the tournament in the franchise in my basement. But here we are. We got through our first season, and we're really hoping we can see everyone at TD Place next year.
Absolutely. What a bizarre set of circumstances. I mean, I don't think anyone would think that a franchise as big as Atletico de Madrid would come up and start a franchise in such a huge country in terms of sport like Canada, and it would be started up in someone's basement. But we all had to adapt. And like you said, there was an inability to fill out a TD stadium because there was no games to be played at the TD stadium. But you guys found a compromise around that, didn't you, for a pair of games?
Yeah, we were lucky enough to host 2 watch parties at TD Place, socially distanced watch parties. The first one we sold out in a matter of hours. The second one we got very close to selling out. It wasn't that big home opener season opener. It wasn't that game that meant everything. But both experiences were amazing. TD Place staff was undeniably the best event hosts in the city. And everyone was very safe, very respectful. We had food service, we had alcoholic, non-alcoholic drinks, and I think everyone had a phenomenal time. The broadcast was great, courtesy of One Soccer, and you just couldn't beat it. I think everyone was really looking for that event feel. We need to get out of the house. We need to enjoy something with our fans, and we got it out of that. I know we also had a few other watch parties. I didn't realize I knew, and I met you, Eddie, at the one watch party at where we had the snafu at the Senate there. So I was looking, and I was like, where do I know him from? I feel like I've met him, and it was right there. So we had a great turnout at all the other watch parties, but definitely the special ones were at TD Place. And I mean, although we couldn't be in the stadium sitting in the seats, the feeling of scoring that first goal with even 100 people there at TD Place, CBC was there recording. It was really special. So, I mean, considering what happened this year, having that experience is really special.
It must have been such a nice little teaser towards the atmosphere that's going to be created in the TD either next year or the year after, whenever we get to finally get fans back in those seats. This year, there was something a little bit different organised as well with the Collective. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Collective and how the club feel like that went for them? Do you think it was a positive thing for fan engagement?
I mean, first and foremost, thank you to anyone who's listening and anyone who sees this in the future, and just in general all our fans, because it was a great success for us, and it's really most of the sentiments I've heard from fans so far about it have been, we don't really care what came with it. We're happy to watch the games. Yes, we're happy to get our jersey, but we really just want to support the club. And that's what made it really special towards the end is the success we had, but then just hearing the feedback being, we get you're a small team and we understand everything that's coming with the Collective, but we're really just happy to put some money down this year in a crazy year and support this club and support what they're doing for soccer in Ottawa. There's still some more stuff to come, with the tournament being wrapped up and most people having collected their jerseys. We're still trying to get out some more exclusive content for fans, some other stuff. So you should see something on Friday this week as well from Malik Hamilton. We've been doing this Fisky Fridays, which has been a lot of fun to watch. But there's still a few more things to come. And then next year we have the mural wall at TD Place that's going to go up. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but everyone's name and picture is going to be on there. Everyone received their digital crests, so kind of like the crest we see here on the screen with your own personal name on it. And then towards the end of this month, early next month, we'll be getting the physical crests in, which is, again, the same crest with your name on it, but it's actual one you can press on your jersey or press on a jean jacket or kind of do whatever you want to do with it. So there's still some stuff to come. A lot of it's wrapped up. But the really cool thing with this that I think a lot of people may not realize is we're never going to open this again. Once you're a Collective member, you're a Collective member. So the people that we got, there's no renewal. You don't have to pay again. It's you're a Collective member forever. So it's our goal as a franchise to continue to put out, it might be one or two things a year, but though you're going to be the only people that get those, right?
Oh, that's fantastic. So there will be a continuous amount of content coming from the club. So it's not just a one-off subscription. It's something that's going to pay off dividends in the future as well.
Exactly. And the thing with this year is we can't believe how many people supported us through the situation that's been going on and us not actually ever having played a game at TD Place. So the fact that we had this many people supporting us, we need to keep it going, and all the teams plan to do this because it's really the Collective members and for us, the deposit holders that pushed us through this year and helped us bring in some revenue as a business and be able to perform at the Island Games, sign players, have players treated the way a professional soccer team should be treated.
And finally, Nick, before we round off this little section of the review, the letter to the fans was issued by the club in the last couple of days. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what have been some of the club's highlights from this year?
Yeah, honestly, before we get into my thoughts on the letter, what do you guys think of the letter? Can you guys share your opinions maybe first?
Oh, he's turning the table. Eddie, I'll let you start with this one.
The letter was very well done. It really encompassed everything about this season of, no one expected us to do anything, and we came in here and we battled to the final day, and you can tell that this wasn't the result that we wanted, and obviously it hurts the players or hurt the coaches, but I think we can use this for next season, and we're going to keep building on this. And I think it's a very nice letter to really show it to the fans. Obviously we weren't there to help support the team, but it feels like a big family now, and that more is to come. Stay tuned, and this team's ready to fight, and this team's ready to stay here.
I think that's a very good answer there, Eddie. I'm sure Nick's slightly happy with that one. For me personally, I thought it was a very honest letter. I think the club had clearly, from the second paragraph, had set themselves some exceptionally high standards, considering this is an inaugural season in a tournament like no other. It's not like they've got 28 games to show what they can do here. It's, hey, this is the team's put together very quickly, and then you're expected to adapt and perform over a 7-game season. So for the fact that the club can turn around and they feel like when they finished 1 point off the playoff spots that they were disappointed because like they feel the team did so well, I think that's great to see that the franchise is expecting so much from the team and from the players. And then to go on and talk about the fans and talk about the way in which the club was brought together and the way the whole city really backed up the players, I thought it was a very nice touch as well.
No, and I thank you guys for your honest opinions, and I love it. I know Fernando very well. I've got to know him very well since March. So he's a very honest person. He likes to put it all out there. He likes to be transparent. He likes to be in the background and not, be out in the forefront so much, but he likes to make his thoughts felt to the fans. And I think the letter really reflects that. The beginning of the letter is just sheer disappointment, right? It's we could have had more. We deserved better. Everyone was thinking the least of us coming in, putting us at the bottom, across the board. Really, we were the question mark coming in, right? And I think right in the first few minutes, we answered everyone's questions on what they can expect, and it's going to be a difficult game when you line up with Atletico Ottawa. And then as we move through the letter, you get the thank yous, and I think right away we try and thank the deposit holders and the collective members, because really they're the ones who have in a way put their money where their mouth is and really supported the team. And then from there, it all wouldn't be possible without Atletico de Madrid and without TD Place and some of those watch parties, PEI, the CPL. I mean, I think the CPL deserves a lot of credit for putting on an event like this. And I love Canadian football, but if you look at the CFL, they couldn't do it this year. There's other leagues, the NLL, National Lacrosse League, which I feel like is a similar level to us in terms of the way they run their league. They had to cancel the rest of their season. MLS has struggled to put stuff on. So for the CPL to just go and do this in a second year and get the commitment from all the owners, I think it really shows how Canada soccer is going to flourish. And I think the CPL is going to flourish. So, I mean, getting through those thank yous after that, it's like, let's get on to next year. We want to get back on the field. We want to continue this momentum. We don't want it to die. Right now, from a back office point of view, we're focusing on the planning stages for next year. And it really, this whole week has been hunkered down and planning. And I think that's kind of what reflects in the red letter as well, is we expect to be on the field. We expect fans to be in the stands. Whatever that looks like, that's what we're going with. So I think it's a thank you, and it's a look, we're here for this, and we're going to build a dynasty, and we expect to win every year. And that's what you can expect from this team, is we're going to win every year. And I mean, no one believed it at the start. On the 5 of us in the background, we're going to win this tournament. We feel it. And to be in it to the last minute of the last, maybe not the last minute, the last 10 minutes of the last game, to have that opportunity to move on and have a chance to actually compete and win. I think we realized that goal almost. And every year that team steps on the field, the only expectation is to bring a trophy to Ottawa, to bring a trophy back to Spain, and to grow Canadian soccer.
Absolutely. And Nick Ryan, I think I speak from absolutely everyone who has been a bum in a seat in a view party from their sofa, watching One Soccer, watching that collective content, when I say thank you very much for the hard work that you guys have put in behind the scenes as well to make this happen, and to continue to have football, soccer in the capital city. And I will try my hardest to get down with all of the appropriate Canadian lingo, but you know what, some old habits, they do die hard. But Nick Ryan, thank you very much for joining us, matey. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and thanks for the support. Thanks for doing this. Thanks to Capital City Supporters Group for starting up this year, being our new
Okay, I think his thank you got cut a little bit short there, but that's quite all right. The testament is very much, the feelings very much felt. So that was Nick Ryan, the director of ticketing at Atletico Ottawa, there talking to us a little bit more about the behind the scenes from the season there. And yeah, I think it just goes to show that the supporters groups, all of them, and how much they brought into this tournament and believed in it, right, Eddie?
Yeah, for sure. Supporters groups are going to be the main part of this. Like, I remember at the announcement, Jeff Hunt came out and said, the difference between soccer and other sports is that the supporters of soccer is what builds that sport. You can have, NBA, you can have all these other teams. You don't need fans there really, because it is the atmosphere. The soccer atmosphere is completely different than everything else. Everything else is just, is manufactured. There's sounds pumping and there's music. Soccer, it's all from the crowd itself, the chants. And, it's so nice to see that this team is encompassing and incorporating, the fans right away from the start. And different support. We have 4 supporters groups, and fans want to watch from everywhere. And I think this is a very good, successful season. And that letter, really came to thank all the fans for everything they did and to let them know that this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I was so glad that letter did come out. All right, we have run over the hour a little bit, so I'm gonna start tying things up here, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I think the biggest overall message from me as a big, huge football fan, global football, having recently moved to Canada, to be able to have this, what an achievement by the CPL to get their second season, Nick touched on it, to get their second season underway during the midst of a global pandemic. That is absolutely fantastic. Having Atletico Ottawa, funded by Atletico de Madrid, one of the most ambitious sporting franchises, I think, in the world, really, to come into a country with like a professional football league in only its second season, to have like what is one of the top 10 richest clubs in the world to come and attempt to set something like this up at this time, I think has been absolutely phenomenal. And Eddie, if I was going to put you on the spot right now, if you can sum up Atletico Ottawa's season in 3 words, not one sentence, 3 words, hit me.
Football is back.
Football is back. There we go. I love it. You're going to get that tattooed, yeah?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you very much for everyone for joining us this evening here at Capital City Supporters Group. Obviously, a massive thank you to Eddie Benhin from 613 Sports for joining me and nattering away for the last 63 minutes about Atletico Ottawa's inaugural season in what has to be the bizarrest football competition of all time. Thank you also to all of you watching for actually sticking by with us through our technical issues that we had on Friday night. Very much appreciate it. As they say, television isn't perfect, but perfect is boring, right? If you want to get involved with Capital City Supporters Group, make sure you go and like us on all of our social channels. So you're on the YouTube channel now, make sure you subscribe to that. Head on over, there you go, down there, absolutely, at Capital City SG for all the other socials. And of course, it goes without saying, head on over to 613 Sports as well if you want to keep up with all other sports in the capital as well. That's your #1 place to be. Again, thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to having you again. Eddie, you've been an absolute star. Thank you very much for being with me this evening. I can't wait to do this again.
For sure.